There's a delay in the stream. So, okay. All right. People saying it's fixed. Okay, good. Sorry, guys. So let me switch to Instagram questions here. Sorry about the echo there for a minute, guys. There's a delay in the stream. So when you guys say like there's an echo and I fix it, I have to wait like 30 seconds. So let me get to some of these Instagram questions. Cool. Somebody asked, new guy YouTube, are you buying a Tesla? I'm not buying a Tesla. I would like to buy a Tesla, but they are very expensive. And like I would only use a Tesla as a daily driver. It would be an amazing daily driver, but like I can't justify spending $50,000 on a daily driver. I'm the kind of guy that would spend $5,000 on a daily driver and then spend the other, if you had $50,000, $45,000 on like a fun weekend car. So I will not be buying a Tesla anytime soon until they're cheap, because I'm just cheap in general. So switching to Instagram questions real quick here so I can knock a couple of these out. Do you plan to enter any drifting events for the BRZ? If so, what upgrades would you like to complete before doing so? So I kind of answered that a little bit before, but more specifically, as far as like the mods I want to do, I would like to do a header. I want an unequal length header so I can get that Subaru rumble. I would like to do a tune, and I would like to run flex fuel. All those things kind of wake the car up just enough that it's like still super fun and it's still in like the same spirit of the car. So that's what I plan to do with the BRZ or FRS or whatever you want to call it. It's one of those. All right. So Adam says, in lieu of the Tesla, let's EV swap the camper van. If you guys have seen, I did a couple videos. I bought a camper van, like a 1979 camper van. And it's got this like old Mopar 360 that runs real good, but one day it's going to die. And we could definitely EV swap that. That would be pretty sick. Let's do another question from the Instagrams. Pedal Turner asks, I see him all the time on Instagram, so thanks for interacting, dude, and thanks for all the questions. Are you a one-man show or do you have people? I'm a one-man show. This, as I mentioned earlier, this is like a part-time thing for me. I have a full-time job, so it's really just on me. I do employ some of my friends, and when I say employ, I mean give them beer, and sometimes they help me with like exterior shots and stuff like that. But have you considered doing more than one episode a week? Would love to, just don't have the time because I still have a full-time job. And he asked, what's my day job? Mentioned that before. I work in IT and cybersecurity. Whatever happened to the 150,000 mile GTR? Really good question there. So I teased on the channel for a little while there. It's still coming. It's just in the works still. So when I did the Camaro ZL1 review, I mentioned that the guy that owns the ZL1, his dad has a 150,000 mile Nissan GTR, like a R35, the newer ones. And that video is coming. It's just like with everything that's going on in the world with COVID and everything, it's kind of difficult. The guy that owns it is a doctor. His time is very important. And I also have only met the guy twice, so I'm trying to build a rapport with him. But I think 150,000 mile GTR would be an awesome video to show like how it's holding up, what he's had to do, to like keep up with maintenance wise and like fixing things. The dude is the original owner, which is interesting to me. So he's had the car and he's put all 150,000 miles on it, and he drives it every single day. So I think that's just like a cool story. So Mike Chung asks, hi, how are you? I'm good. How are you? New guy YouTube, what's next with the weird RV house thing? That's a good question, man. I don't know what to do with it, like other than just use it. There's a lot of like trips I want to go on, and I just don't know how like good of content that'll make for the channel. Like I want to take it camping and like take it when I go rock climbing in the gorge and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know how good of content that'll make. I'll bring the camera along and we'll see. But if you have any ideas for what to do with a weird RV house thing, let me know. I love how you worded that. The only thing I might do is actually paint it. I would love to have it look like the original colors, because the original color scheme is actually like pretty cool. So, Big MT is pedal turner. Okay, cool. That makes more sense now why I've seen those questions. Andrew Sama asked, hey, what do you think the best first project car is? That's a really good question, man. I've had 4 or 5 Nissan 240SXs. So clearly I think Nissan 240s are like a really good project car. They're starting to be like harder to find. So like when I got into the 240 scene was relatively early on. This was like 2004, 2005. And it's like when I did my first SR swap and stuff like that. And those cars have so much aftermarket support. They still do, of course, but it's just getting more expensive to find like a clean shell, because people have either crashed them, they've rusted out or whatever. I think an FRS would be, 350Z would be an excellent first project car. Anything that is like simple. So like when I say simple, like naturally aspirated, I think a good first project car should be rear wheel drive. So it teaches you like more driving dynamics. You can really get away with a lot with all wheel drive cars, and it can kind of teach you like bad habits. So, like anything rear wheel drive, naturally aspirated, and relatively cheap is a good first project car. That's a really good question. So Big MT says the GTR video would be good. 150,000 mile GTR video would be great. Love to see the dyno numbers. If I could get that thing on the dyno, ooh, man, that would be like make for a really good video. We'll see if we can do that. If the dude's down, like I know people who like I have access to a dyno, so we could do that. So if he's down, like that would be honestly like a really good, that would make for a really good video. That's a good idea. New guy YouTube, can you do a garage update? And did you sell the Land Cruiser? Hell no, I'm not selling the Land Cruiser. The Land Cruiser will be the last car that I sell probably, which I know is weird because I love performance cars, but man, I just love that thing. It just always works. It is awesome off-road. It's never really going to go down in value because everyone loves Land Cruisers and they're kind of going away. So yeah. That answers that question. Oh, okay. So Tim was asking about William, the guy I bought the RB swapped 240SX from, is now K swapping an MR2. So he's kind of got like this poor man's Elise thing going on. I would really like to drive that thing. So if he's kind enough and will let me come to DC and let me drive that, I would love to do that for the channel and just in general. Chris Smith asked, how much for the FRS? So I paid $6,500 for the FRS, and I've put a little bit of money into it, fixing it. If I sold it, it would probably be like somewhere around there. The thing with that car is, mechanically it's great. Like I think it's got less than 70,000 miles on it. It runs really good. But like every body panel has issues on that car. So that's why I got it so cheap. It has hail damage, which, from 20 feet away, you don't really notice, but when you're 5 feet close up or COVID-19 distance, you can see the hail, and like the back bumper's messed up, the front bumper's messed up. So it's perfect for someone who doesn't care about cosmetics and wants to have fun with a car. Would make a perfect project car, would make a perfect race car, because you don't have to worry about, cosmetics in a race car, or you shouldn't. So it will be around $6,500. Big MT, where do you see your channel in a year? Man, that's a good question. I've been kind of chasing that $100,000 subscriber number. for a little while now. In a year, it's a bit of a lofty goal to get to 100K, but by next year, if I have 100K, that would be really cool. I want to get more into reviewing, like, or back into reviewing cars. Like, the channel was more about like just reviewing cars, and now I have a little more access to press cars, like a little bit. So like I made a good contact at Honda when I did that CRV launch. So hopefully at minimum Civic Si will be coming up. I can pretty much almost guarantee that, but I would love to get the Civic Type R on here too, which is probably pretty possible. So kind of expanding the car reviews, like doing more new cars, because I do a lot of used car stuff because that's just what I have access to. But I would like to do some more new cars. So that's a really good question. Let's see. New guy YouTube, could you do a Miata drift build? I mean, I could. I just feel like that's kind of been done. Miatas are good first cars to learn drifting on for sure. Since I have the FRS, like it's more or less the same thing. So, yeah. Let's see. So Chris talked about the paint. Paint body isn't high on the list for these type of cars. I mean, to some people, I think you're right for sure. It certainly isn't to me. So, new guy YouTube, how is COVID-19 affecting your channel? It isn't a whole lot because like I'm a one-man crew, and I still go for like drives and stuff because I feel like that's not irresponsible to do socially because I'm still by myself and I'm not like interacting with anyone other than myself. So it hasn't like a whole ton. But I was going to get a press car recently and that got canceled because of COVID. So it is affecting me a little bit there. So I'm having to get a little more creative with the content. What video brought your biggest increase in subscribers? Oh man. It's really interesting because looking at subscriber count or like looking at view count on videos doesn't necessarily correlate to like subscriber count. I think the Porsche videos that I made and the E55 AMG videos that I made, those had like I saw a huge increase in subscribers when I did those. So if I was not an idiot, I would do another Porsche or AMG car, but I am an idiot and I just get sidetracked. But probably the 911 video, the 911 series did really well. A lot of people subscribed for that. The E55 did really well. A lot of people loved when I bought that really cheap E55 and then had to fix it because it constantly broke. I didn't really love that. So it's a bit of a give and take there. Let's see. New guy YouTube, can you do more project car stuff if possible? Yeah, I would like to. The hard part with project car stuff is it's expensive, man. Like that's all for the most part. That's coming out of my pocket. So like I don't make enough on YouTube to like totally justify going crazy with project cars. But I would like to do more. I mean, like it's just like so time consuming, man. To be a one-man show and like wrench, like do a very in-depth wrenching and then like also filming and editing. I did that with the 240 SX that I LS swapped. Maybe you guys have seen those videos. If you haven't, you should go watch them. I say maybe you have or have not because no one watched those. Those videos got like 1,000 views, and I thought like LS swapping a 240 would be really cool, and no one watched it. So I spent a ton of money on that project and like didn't really get a good return from a YouTube perspective. So that's why I don't do a ton of project car stuff, because financially it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I hope that makes sense for you guys, because I can't just like rack up a bunch of credit card debt trying to do these project cars as much as I'd like to. If I get 100,000 subscribers, then we'll do like a big project car. I promise you that. J Phantom, JDM or German engineering? Man, they're so different. Like, I love German engineering because I feel like it's pretty cutting edge. I feel like they do unique things and stuff like that. But I also really like JDM engineering because it's like it being like basic, but it always works, right? So, like for the most part, JDM cars just work. So like, where can we meet in the middle? Like German cars are so complicated and all this crap. And, but they're cool because they have new features, whereas like JDM cars are a little more simple, but they always work. Like we need to meet in the middle here somehow and get cars that always work and have cool new features. If I had to take one over the other, oh man, I'm gonna go German. I really I like the German engineering, even though JDM engineering is just as good or better. I just kind of prefer it. Let's see. Hoyes is asking, when are you and Kent resurrecting the Without Back? Dude, that is a deep cut question. Okay, so there's a couple things to unpack there. First of all, if you guys haven't seen it, we did a video series with my friends where we built a car for the Gambler 500. The Gambler 500 is a $500 car rally that you like take your $500 car like on and off road for like 500 miles and you like beat the crap out of it, and it's like the best time of your life. So that's where the Without Back came from. And the Without Back is a Subaru Outback that had been in a wreck and somebody cut off the entire rear of the car. So we called it the Without Back. And it was like the best time ever. So sad to say, dude, after all that's been said and done, like go back and watch those videos, guys. If you haven't seen those like Gambler videos, they're hilarious. But the Without Back got crushed. So we put 2 engines in that thing and kept hydrolocking them, or like the second one, actually we went through some water and it skipped timing. So after the second engine grenaded, we just like called it quits and we crushed that car, which is kind of sad. So that thing has been returned to the earth. Really good question, man. What's your favorite and least favorite car you've owned? Oh man, my favorite car is probably the Lotus Elise that I owned was my favorite car. It's just like, it's such a unique car. It's a blend of, it's got the JDM influence because it has a Toyota engine, like a Celica GTS engine. So it works, but it's also like really cool and different. So everywhere I drove that thing, man, like, and this isn't the reason I buy like cars, but it's really fun to interact with people because everyone was so curious. Like most people have never seen one. They wonder what it is. Like, is it a Ferrari? Is it, like people that don't know about cars, like think it's super expensive. And I was sitting here paying less than $20,000 for this car. So probably the Lotus Elise is my favorite car I've ever owned. Least favorite is probably, I owned a Infiniti M45 that was on the channel for a little while. And that car was pretty much a piece of shit. Probably my least favorite car. Like it was cool for like a day. And then I was like, why did I buy this car? They're not that good, so don't buy them. Jeff Balin, what's up, Jeff? Best new daily driver under 40K that'll put a smile on my face every time it's driven. Asking for a friend. So Jeff is a friend of mine, actually a relative of mine, and he is looking for a new car. Best daily driver under 40K. I'm going to say, in his case, because he needs a sedan, because he's got a family, I'm going to say you could get like a really nice ISF for that. I think that would be an interesting play. Like, not many people have them. I think it's unique. It works because it's a Lexus. It makes awesome noises. You could, of course, go down the M3 route, but we all have friends that have M3s, so maybe not the M3 route. ISF would be really good. What else? A GSF would be pretty sweet. I don't know if you can get those for 40K. Who am I? Like, I'm doing all these like Lexuses and stuff. I'd probably go with one of those. Or if you want to be a real baller, do a like an AMG car. Get like the best $40,000 AMG car you can buy, and you can have a 4-door car with like a insane engine. Under 100K car, in your opinion, is 100K. If I had 100K to spend on a car, I'd probably get the nicest Ferrari that I could for 100K. Like maybe can you get a 430? I think you can get a 430 for 100K. Always wanted a Ferrari. You guys know, like, they have such a reputation, and they're just they sound so amazing. Like I would much prefer to have like a 458, which is a slightly newer version, but that's the last naturally aspirated version. I think those sound amazing. The 488s that are, out now are super fast. They're the turbocharged version, but I think they don't sound nearly as good. So, that was a really roundabout way of saying probably like a 430. I think you can buy a 430 for like 100K, because I don't think those cars are going to depreciate too much more. I think you can get in and out of like a 430 pretty decently. And I think you can actually get those in manual, but I know the manual ones are like way more expensive. New guy YouTube, what car do you daily drive right now? FRS. Yeah, it gets the best fuel economy. It's fun to drive. The paint is all messed up, so I don't have to worry about it. It's a great daily driver. And then I have the Land Cruiser when I need to haul crap around, because it doesn't store a lot. William Tung asks, projects are too niche, which is true. Didn't your Jeep off-roading video get the most views? That was great. Yeah, so one of the earlier videos I did on the channel was me and my friends off-roading a really cheap Jeep, and a friend of mine who's a character in his own right, just pretty much like was destroying his Jeep on video, and it got millions of views. So thanks, John, for doing that and helping me out. So like stuff like that, like, that costs nothing more or less, and is just like a fun thing to do. Those do so much better on YouTube than project cars. And there's so many people doing project cars on YouTube. Like, it's hard to keep up with that. New guy YouTube, which car do you like better, the 911 or the GT350? Ooh, man, the GT350 is something special, man. Like, the 911 is sweet too, but I would love to own a GT350 again. If I buy another one, it would be a GT350R. I think they are actually slightly more special. Rear engine 911, like, that's pretty sweet and interesting, but the GT350 engine is just like, it's incredible. Like, I like the GT350 better. How would I find my house with a 4-car garage? It's super hard to filter out with houses on sites like Zillow and stuff. So Diego 895 asked that question, and that's a really good question, man. Honestly, like, all those search engines don't do a good job of like filtering that stuff out. So I just like looked. I was looking in my price range, and I would look at every listing and look at the garage. In the listing, they knew exactly what they were doing when these people listed the house, because they had like a couple nice cars in the garage in the house that I ended up buying, and they put those on like the realtor website and stuff. So it was very obvious that the car had a 4-car garage and stuff like that. I wish I had a better answer for you as far as like, how did I find it with a 4-car garage? I just got lucky, because there's not too many houses in my price range in this area that have a 4-car garage. So you just got to look, man. Like, look in your price range like you normally would, and then hopefully you'll stumble across one that has like a 3 or 4-car garage. Wish I had a better answer for you there. William Tung, hopefully the Model Y review will go viral. I'm pretty sure right before this video it was at just about 100,000 views. So that's pretty good for me. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that Model Y video. I hope you guys enjoyed the Tesla content, because there's more of that coming. What's the new C8 Corvette best feature? Ooh, I mean, I think the obvious answer is just the fact that it's mid-engine, of course. I feel like that's a cop-out answer, but there isn't much different otherwise. Like, the engine is more or less the same. It sounds more or less the same. I think it looks cool, but certain angles it doesn't look that cool. Like, I don't like the rear end. I think the rear end of the C8 is ugly. So the C8, I think, its best quality is the fact that it's mid-engined. Not to say the car's not special or fast, because it is all of those, but the mid-engine is for sure the best feature. Would you get a 2020 C8 or a Lamborghini Gallardo? Gallardo for sure. Once again, C8s are sweet, super capable. If you're going to go to the track and stuff like that, yeah, get a C8. Like, it'll work awesome. But like all Corvettes, there's a million Corvettes on the road. And, as soon as they ramp up production of the C8, you're going to see a million of them. How many Gallardos do you see on a daily basis? Like, I'm more into the unique car thing. And, I'm sure a Gallardo would probably make me go broke, but I would much rather have a Gallardo. William Tung suggested the Model 3 for my buddy Jeff, if he doesn't hate EVs. I mean, Model 3s are cool. It fits in that price range, but I don't think it'll put a smile on his face like a petrol engine does. I mean, the guy owns a Mustang, so I'm not sure he's going to be huge into the EVs. Let's see. Big MT, do you watch other automotive YouTubers? Good question. I do watch a lot of YouTube content. So definitely huge inspiration from The Smoking Tire, Matt Farah. I got to meet him in LA last year. That was super cool. Who else do I watch? Mighty Car Mods. And, all those Australian guys like Mechanical Stig. I like to watch Bad Obsession Garage Bad Obsession Garage. I guess that's what they're called. They come out with videos so infrequently, but their videos are amazing. I kind of like the more like higher quality produced content. I don't really follow a lot of the like vloggers and stuff like that. Not that there's anything against those guys, but they put out so much stuff like, I don't have the time to watch all that stuff. Let's see. Jeff replied to the comment about the Model 3 and said that he's driven one and loved it. So totally proved me wrong. So maybe he will be getting a Model 3. Here's a good question. Would you work... would I work on my own $100,000 Ferrari that I mentioned in the previous comment? Man, for basic stuff, but like a lot of those things that they need like require specialty tools or specialty equipment or specialty calibration. Like if a clutch goes out on like a like one of those early Formula One style automatic Ferraris, it's one thing to like mechanically replace it, but then you have to have laptops and stuff to like calibrate it. So I would work on it as much as I could, but there's going to be a lot of things that would be outside my scope. So it would be hard pressed to find somebody that could work on that kind of stuff for cheap. There's no Ferrari dealers by me, and I'm not very fortunate in the sense that people like Tyler Hoover of Hoovie's Garage has, his guy, the Car Wizard, who works on his cars super cheap and he does a good job. If I had somebody like that, like I'd probably be much more willing to take a plunge on something like that. But, I would do as much as I could, but there's probably not too many things that I could do in my garage on a Ferrari. Ronald asks, what's your dream hypercar? My favorite was the Pagani Zonda. Dude, I love Zondas. Or Koenigsegg's. I really like those as well. Hypercars, man. McLaren P1. Those are sick. Like, I would love to have one of those. Probably a P1. Those cars are just absolutely insane. They look insane. They supposedly drive insane. Obviously, I haven't driven one, but probably a McLaren P1. But the Pagani Zondas they sound incredible, so I like those a lot too. Oh, here we go. Mario B asking about some Mercedes-Benz engines. What do you think of the M113K versus the M156 AMG? Dude, unfortunately, I'm not super hip to the like Mercedes AMG or Mercedes engine nomenclature. The 113, I think that's a V8, isn't it? I don't know, man. Unfortunately, I'm not super hip to those, so I don't really have a good answer for you on those. I can't remember what engine was in my E55 even, like what the engine code was, but that thing was bulletproof. I had a 2004 E55 AMG, so it had like a supercharged V8. And it had like 200,000 miles on it. That thing was incredible. I think that might be the 113, M113. Those things are pretty sick. Would you have a C8 or a GTR? That's a tough one, man. Probably a GTR because I've always wanted a GTR. That's something that I need to like cross off my list is a GTR. I'll eventually own a Corvette as well, but I think I'd probably rather own a GTR. Jeff mentioned we need to get behind the wheel of Hari's Balboni. He has a Lamborghini, and he's a friend of ours. I would love to do that. We should do that soon. Okay, Jay Phantom asking, what's your favorite fitment? Stock, flush, tucked, also bags, springs, or coils? Okay, so definitely not tucked. I think tucked is a little bit silly. I think flush is probably my favorite fitment from that point of view over stock. And bag, springs, or coils. It depends on the application. I think so many people so quickly jump to coilovers when they don't need to. For track applications, they can be really good, but there's a lot of really good springs out there. And if you pair them with good shocks, like, you'll be fine. So I'm kind of, for the most part, a springs over, for sure, bags and over coils as well, because they traditionally ride better as well. Are we going to be seeing a new car on the channel soon? Let's see. Not anytime soon. But just being everything that's going on with like COVID and whatnot, this would be a great time to be buying a car. And I wish I would have sold at least one before all this started, because I would be buying one nice and cheap. But I sort of have too many cars right now. So I think you'll see me sell a car before you see me buy a car. And sorry if there's a delay, guys. I'm trying to catch up with these comments. Let's see. Your favorite slow car? Dean asked what my favorite slow car is. I really like FRSs, man. Like, obviously I'm a little biased because I own one, but like, it's my favorite because I bought it. So I like Miatas too. And as I mentioned earlier, I would own an ND Miata, but, when it comes to favorite slow cars, I like FRSs. Are you going to do a really cheap Hoovies garage style car on the channel? I feel like I've kind of done that. Like, I kind of did that with my Elise actually, but I didn't brand it like he did. Like, that I bought the cheapest Elise in the country. I probably should have. It would have got a lot more views, but yeah, I could probably see myself doing that, because that's what I really like to do, is just like buy cheap cars and fix them up and show you guys like how to do it and stuff like that. Let's see. Paul asked, what's your opinion on the C5Z06, best track street car for the money? I'm coming from E46 M3, so seems like a good step up in performance. Dude, everything you said, I agree with. To go from E46 M3 to a C5Z, performance-wise, for sure, will be a huge step up. It's going to work. I love C5Zs. Like, I think they're an incredible value right now. They work really well. They're super fast. And, obviously there's like a lot of Corvettes around, but like for track and like fun street use, they're they're pretty hard to beat. I think you'll be happy with it. Obviously, like, going in, it's not built like a BMW or a German car, and the interior quality is trash. But as long as you know that going in, and you're willing to like put a decent seat in it and stuff, you'll be super happy with the C5Z. I've driven a couple, and I really like them. That would probably be the first Corvette I would buy, actually. That or a C6Z. Rastafaran asks, thoughts on the 8-speed dual clutch transmission and race seats coming for the 2020 Veloster N. I actually wrote that down as a potential talking point. I'm really interested in these race seats. That could be pretty interesting. The seats from the Veloster N that I drove were really good. But the dual clutch transmission, as long as it keeps them making the car and they still have a manual, I have no problems with it. Like, would I choose a dual clutch? Probably not. Like, I'd probably prefer the manual. But, as long as people are buying the car and they can keep making manual transmissions, even if they're making a dual clutch, I'm all about it, man. And I'll be curious. Like, I don't know. I don't have really any experience with like Hyundai dual clutches, so we'll see if that's any good. But I'm imagining it's probably from like ZF or something like that. So it'll probably be pretty good. Do you think EVs will be the future of automotive? What do you think of the Tesla as a company? EVs are for sure the future. Like it or not, they are going to take over. It's just a question of when. And I'm hoping that there will always be a spot for like enthusiast cars that are not EVs, because I've driven several Teslas and EVs and they're great daily drivers, but there's definitely something missing and lacking there. So they are the future. They are going to dominate the market pretty soon here, but I hope they're still gas fun cars. And what do I think of Tesla as a company? I don't know, man. Like, I'm glad that they're like giving EV cars a good name in the sense of like their cars are incredible. I think even at like 40, 50 grand for these cars, it's a lot of car for the money, and it's like driving the future. But like, they're known for having financial trouble. I hope they can get through that. Even though their stock price is insane and stuff like that. But the only thing I don't like about them is they seem to be a little bit misleading with the whole self-driving car thing. They don't actually, like, they keep promising that it's going to drive itself, and they're so far from being able to do that. So that's the part I find kind of misleading about Tesla. What's better, 350 or 370Z? Well, 370 is better in pretty much every conceivable way, but the 350s are a lot cheaper. So, the 370 is just like a better car. I think, it's faster. I think they handle better. They are a little heavier, but I think as just like buy it and drive it, a 370Z is a better car. A buy it and modify it, I would get a 350 just because they're cheap and there's so many parts for them. All right, here we go. Off the spot. What fun cars should I buy under 18K? Looking for reliable and low insurance cost. I was thinking a 2016 VW Golf R with a tune. Is that a good idea? Can you buy a Golf R for under 18K? Man, they've really come down in value. Yeah, those cars are really good. 18K, what can you get for 18K? I would say if you want, like, it depends where you live too, because if you want all-wheel drive, yeah, like go Golf R. They're really fast, but they don't have like a whole lot in the form of like feel and stuff. So if this is your only car, they're amazing daily drivers. The interior is really nice. They're not like the best when you push them to the limit. What year was the Golf R that I had? I think it was a 2014. And it was a good car, but like if you really push it to the limit, it kind of shows its flaws, and it's more of just like a daily driver. So if you're going to drive it every day, I think you'll be really happy with that. If it's a fun car for you, I would look at like like a C5Z or like a FRS BRZ. I know that's like a bit generic, but I love mine, man. Like it's not real fast, but it is so fun. Like if you're all about like fun to drive, it's hard to beat the BRZ and FRS. Alex says, love your content. Thank you. I was just wondering what sort of things you're involved with in your day job. He's a mechanical engineer. I mentioned earlier, I work in IT and I work in the cybersecurity field. So I hack people's computers for fun during my day job. That's what I do. And then I pretend to be a YouTuber at night, like a crappier version of Batman. Somebody said, I don't think you can get a Golf R for that price, which I'm pretty sure he's right. A Mark 7 GTI has been great for him, which, yeah, I mean, like if you can't get a Golf R, get a GTI. Like they're more or less one and the same. If there is a huge cost difference, like, and you're in an area that you don't need all-wheel drive, like GTIs are amazing. I've owned 2 or 3 GTIs, and they're awesome for daily drivers. Am I on lockdown where I live? Sort of. Like it's like non-essential. People can go to work and stuff like that. I work for a hospital, so I can still go to work if I want, but I mostly work remote. And like I tried to go get a scone today from a local bakery, and I had to order it online, and they had to like drop it outside the window, and then I could go pick it up. It was like a really weird situation. So I'm sort of where I live. I'm sort of on lockdown. Did you catch feels over death of the Evo? Yeah, I mean Mitsubishi as a company, they just kind of went away, which is a huge bummer. Evo, the reason I didn't catch feels about like the death of the Evo is the fact that I own one, and now mine's going to be worth more. So selfishly, I didn't feel too bad about it. And also, I think they were going in a weird direction with it anyways. I didn't love the Evo 10. It's a good car, but like just got heavier and a little more muted. The rawness is what made the Evo fun to me, and the Evo 8s and 9s are amazing for that. Do you miss the S2000? Regret selling it? Apollo asks that. Sometimes I do actually regret selling that car. That's one of my favorites. Like I for sure would get an AP1, which is an early generation or early model year of the S2000. And that's the one that revved to 9,000 RPM. At the limit, it was like a little bit twitchy, but it made it exciting to drive. And it was a Honda. They last forever. And they're going up in value. That's another car that's going up in value. So sometimes I have regrets selling that thing. D-Ray's Garage. Which car you've owned was most disappointing, and which would you love to claw back into your fleet? Most disappointing. That's an interesting question. Most disappointing was probably, I don't know if I can call it disappointing. Like the E55 AMG I had was cool, but like it disappointed me because it broke all the time. Like that one specifically that I bought was supposed to be relatively reliable, and it wasn't. I had to replace like a whole bunch of crap on that thing. And like oil lines, that was a huge pain in the ass job. So that one kind of disappointed me, like reliability wise. The claw back into my fleet, either my Lotus Elise or my GT350. Those are cars that I would like to have back. The S2000 I wouldn't mind having back either, as like a fun weekend car. Tom Wood, would you do a follower meetup after this coronavirus? Sure, why not? If people want to meet up, I'd be down with that. I often go to, if any of you guys are in like the Cincinnati area, you can usually find me in the summers at Cincinnati Cars and Coffee, which is held at, well, it used to be a place called Fuel, but it's now a place called Tobago Coffee. And it's just east of Cincinnati. It gets a really good turnout every Saturday morning. And you can usually find me there. So if you guys are local, feel free to stop by and say hi. I'm usually there. Somebody's asked, new guy YouTube, how long will you be owning the M3? I'll probably be selling that soon. So if you guys are interested, let me know. Not that I want to really, but I just want to move on to another project. The car's super clean. I kind of hardly drive it because it's like such good shape and I feel bad driving it, but I'll probably be selling that soon actually. Somebody's watching the live chat from Panama. Damn. Welcome, dude. Raphael. That's pretty sweet. I love that we can reach people like all over the place here. Apollo, having owned the 997.1, was it worth the money? Overrated for the money you spend for the value proposition perspective? Would you have gone with a Cayman or other platform knowing what you know today? Really good question, man. Really well thought out question. I would say it was honestly worth every bit of the money. I only paid 30 grand for that car. I say only just because like 30 grand for a relatively modern 911 that wasn't a piece of shit, I think is a pretty good value. 997s are really good. I don't like the 996s as much, but the 997s are good. I would definitely get a Carrera S like I did. I wouldn't buy the base Carrera. And I think from a value proposition, like they're pretty competitively priced right now. And, you know, like the thing with 911s is they tend to eventually go up in value. Now, I don't think the 996s will, but I think the 997s will hold their value pretty good for a while. So Apollo did a whole buyer's guide on the S2000. So you guys should go check that out. Apparently, I haven't seen it, but he's probably an expert on S2000s. Oh, so new guy YouTube, was your Elise a clean title? No, it was not. I got that car for $17,500. I bought it from actually a high school kid in Florida, and my buddy Adam drove. He flew down with me, and we drove that thing back from Florida to Ohio. That was a pretty interesting story. It's on the channel if you haven't seen it, but it was a salvage title car, and a lot of those get salvage titles because there's basically two body panels. There's the front clam and the rear clam, and that's basically it. So if you like slightly mess up one or the other, like even with like a minor bump or bruise or like a minor rear end collision, front end collision, it's like a lot of them get totaled out because they're so expensive to get those clams and then to paint them and then to install them. So you can actually find a lot of salvage title cars. Wire Wheel is one in Florida. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I see them pop up all the time. They refurbish like crashed Lotuses all the time. So mine was not a Wire Wheel car, and it was kind of like poorly fixed, but it was 17 grand, and that's hard to beat. Somebody, Raphael said, was a pity that you got rid of the 997.1. Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. But I'm always like, don't get attached to any car on my channel because I always want to try something else, even if it's really good. Will I be doing a garage update soon? I could. Maybe I won't make that like the Friday release that I do for everything, but I could do one of those if you guys are interested in what's still around. But from a high level, still got the Evo 9, still got the M3 E92, still got the Land Cruiser, still got the FRS, and still got the creepy 70s van. What's your favorite online source for finding cars? I kind of mentioned this before, but forums I think are a great place to buy cars. There's not a lot of cars on forums anymore because they've kind of gone away, but you'll get like a higher quality seller on forums. I still search Craigslist even though it's kind of dead because they charge for it now. And then of course there's like Auto Trader and Search Tempest and stuff like that, or Auto Tempest I guess it's called now. Auto Tempest is good because you can search like a bunch of different avenues all at once. But I don't like a lot of their filtering mechanisms, mainly because I'm just used to Auto Trader, but I don't really like Auto Trader either. So unfortunately, you kind of got to check all of them. Can you do a cheap car challenge with your friends? I would love to do that. If I was going to do a cheap car challenge with my friends, I would want to hire like a film crew though, because I would want to enjoy it for one. And number two, like I just can't physically like film all that stuff myself. There's so much going on with like cheap car challenges. But I would love to do one of those. We sort of did that with like the Gambler 500. So if you're into the cheap car challenge type stuff, go back and look at the Gambler 500 videos, because those are kind of along those same lines, except we only took 2 amongst 4 people. But so Chris is asking about the 2ZZ MR. True luxury lease. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that convert or like hop up MR2s and then claim that they're kind of in a lease, and they kind of are because they're so lightweight. Leases are like 2,000 pounds, and I think depending on what generation MR2 you're looking at, they can be like 2,200 pounds. So they're actually pretty similar. Alex mentions he misses his E90 328i a lot. He replaced it with an F30 328i. The E90 felt much more connected, which is for sure true. Plus the engine was so much smoother. Why is BMW softening their cars? Man, as much as it pains me to say it, it's because that's what sells, man. Like, the ultimate driving machine is for the most part no more. They realized that they could sell more cars and not just be niche with like, enthusiasts and do like performance cars, and then they could just like soften them and make them bigger and they could sell more of them. So it all boils down to money, but I completely agree. Like, I've owned E90s, I've owned F30 and F30, and the E90 handles and drives so much better, but the F30 is more comfortable. My absolute dream car, I think I kind of answered this before in a different way. Probably a McLaren P1. I would really love to get this isn't like absolute dream car, but I would really like to get like a 911 GT3, a GT3 RS. Like, I know those aren't like insanely like $1 million expensive, but they're super expensive, and I would really, really love to have one of those. So I think I'm up to date on the chat, guys. I appreciate you guys joining. Let me just hit up some of these remaining Instagram questions, because I promised people I would answer them, and then we'll probably log off here. It's been almost an hour and a half. I had no idea how long this would go, but I appreciate you guys stopping by and asking questions and stuff. Definitely happy to do this in the future. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys didn't hear it, I would like to get some guests to come and do this with me. So to be like probably honestly very similar to the Smoking Tire podcast, if you guys are familiar with that, where I would have a guest, we would talk about whatever with a guest, and then we would answer your guys' questions like in the end. I think that would be pretty fun. So going back to the Instagram questions, learn how to tie shoes. Relatively small turbo engine or no replacement for displacement? Good question. When it comes to, I think, daily drivers, small displacement turbo is pretty good because you have a lot of torque. And for the most part, a lot of those engines, I'm just thinking about like my Fiesta ST that I had, were real responsive, and they were great for like getting in and out of traffic. No replacement for displacement, of course, like V8s and stuff are awesome. I think, if you're tracking a car or something, I would prefer a naturally aspirated engine just because it's simpler, less overheating concerns and stuff like that. So more of an NA car for the track. And from a daily driver perspective, I'd rather go like small turbo engine because they're more efficient, better fuel economy, and also like good for the torque and traffic. Shyam asked, do you plan on replacing one of your cars here soon in the future? I will probably replace either the Evo or the M3 quite soon. I'm kind of holding out for this whole COVID thing to go away, because I've been following a lot of cars on Bring a Trailer, and they are like going pretty cheap. So I don't really want to sell my cars cheap at this point, but hopefully like it's like tax season. It's a perfect time to sell a car, except for there's like a whole worldwide pandemic going on. So I will probably be replacing one of those soon, or maybe both, because I'd really like to get a 991, 911. What's the best off-roading machine on earth? Dadoe asked that question on Instagram. Have you guys seen the Sherp? I think that's like the brand, or is that the brand? I think they're just called Sherps. I'm not sure if that's like the model as well, but they are these like crazy. Let me see if I can pull one up. Let's get crazy with the live stream here. Now that we're on the end, let's do this. Let's see. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Sherp. Here we go. This is the best off-roading thing ever, I think. Like, look at these friggin' things. Look at the tires. Oh my God, these things are amazing. I want to drive one of these. Hell, I want to buy one. I don't know where I'd keep it, but these things are incredible. I think they actually float. Like, there's so much air in these tires that they literally float. So, I think the Sherp is the best off-roading vehicle. My buddy John asked pancakes or waffles. I'm going to go waffles. Aviation Meister asked, is YouTube profitable enough at 70,000 subscribers? That's a good question, man. I mean, define profitable enough. It's not profitable enough to live off of. That's why I have a full-time job. But it is, it makes me enough money that I can like continue the channel, and I can continue like making content for you guys, and it helps offset the cost of like some of these projects and stuff that I do. Like every time like when I did the LS1 swap 240, like that was super expensive, and getting ad revenue and stuff from the channel does help offset those costs. So not enough to make it my only job, although eventually I would like to do that. Thanks guys for all the props. I appreciate it. I hope the first live stream was good. Did your GT, just a couple more questions here. Did your GT350 still have factory warranty when you had it? Yes, it did. Were you worried about the engine failure? Honestly, Diego, that's a good question. I wasn't real worried about the engine failures on the GT350s. The only time I've really seen those is like people, for the most part, at least, people don't check the oil on those cars, and every single one of them burns oil. Like that's just how they're designed. So the people that don't check the oil, they spin bearings, the engine gets messed up, whatever. As long as you're checking the oil, they're pretty reliable. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Last question, favorite beer. So a bit of a deep cut. There is a brewery in Strongsville, Ohio, which is Northwest Ohio, called, the brewery is called Brew Kettle, but my favorite beer from them is called White Raja, and it is a white IPA, and it's really good. If you could bring back 3 cars you sold to be permanent part of your stable, which ones would it be? Lotus Elise, GT350, and probably S2000 actually. New guy YouTube asks what my age is. I just turned 33 last month. Will you do YouTube full time in the future? I would love to eventually do that. So hopefully you guys see more than one video a week when I do eventually do that. That's my goal. We'll eventually get there. Do you follow Car Passion channel? Zygreen? Never heard of them. I don't. I should look them up. And last question. With your friend getting the Lexus, any off-road plans soon? Tom Wood asked that. Great question, man. He follows my Instagram clearly. I posted up one of my friends bought a LX470, and actually we're talking about social distancing with an off-road trip this weekend. Everyone takes their own cars and stays in their own cars and stays 6 feet apart, but hopefully we can, he has some private property and we could at least go get him dirty. So I think that wraps it up, guys. Hopefully you'll see one of those soon for an off-road perspective, because it's nice out and I want to get the Land Cruiser out. It's got those mud terrains on it, and it's got the rock sliders on there. So I'm super stoked about that. But thanks guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Hope to do this again, and I hope to see you guys again. Thanks again for all your questions and everything. And thanks for watching as always. So Eat Sleep Drive podcast live stream or live chat, whatever you want to call it. The first one is in the books. See you guys.